Good afternoon, and welcome to Love, a Transformational Series. Let's join Hewlett now as she shares on this topic.
Thank you for joining me again on the Love Transformational Series. I am so excited that you're with me. This is part 2 of Love Reconciles. We talked about in the last episode how Jacob betrayed his brother and stole his blessing from his father. Upon doing so, Jacob escaped and went to live in another country with his uncle, his mom's brother. There had been 20 years since the act was committed against Esau, and God commanded Jacob to return to the land of his ancestors, the land of Canaan. However, in order to get there, he had to go through Edom, which is a territory of his brother Esau. Now, during the time of their separation, God blessed Jacob. He was blessed exorbitantly. He married 2 women, Rachel and Leah, had 12 sons and a daughter. His herd, flock, everything he did, everything he had was multiplied, and he was so blessed. So he knew he had to meet his brother. So can you imagine what went through his head when he knew he had to go through Edom in order to get to the land of Canaan? In order to be in obedience to God, he had to meet up with his brother. I'm sure he probably wondered, what will Esau carry out in regards to me? Is he still threatening to kill me? Is he still bitter towards me? Will seeing me cause the wound I inflicted to be as fresh as the day in which I did the deed? I'm sure he was just troubled in his mind. And we see to some extent that he was, because when he was about to meet his brother, he broke his family up in sections. So just in case there was going to be an attack, all of them would not die at once. There wouldn't be a slaughter of his entire family. So we see in chapter 33 where Jacob meets up with Esau. And Esau comes to him with 400 men. So I'm sure he was intimidated by that. What Jacob did was send gifts ahead to appease his brother. So when he did come to meet him, he kept bowing 7 times before reaching his brother. And when Esau saw him from afar off, he ran to meet him and threw his arms around him and kissed him, and they both wept together. Can you imagine? Someone who was so wounded, someone whose life changed dramatically, someone whose life was impacted monumentally. The trajectory of his life was changed due to an evil act by his brother who took his blessing. He ran towards him and embraced him. What forgiveness! Can you imagine the reconciliation that took place? And they wept together. 20 years of not seeing each other. And we see where Esau wept with his brother. And Esau said to Jacob, "What are all these flocks and herds that met me as I came?" And Jacob basically said, "It's my gift to you, my Lord, to ensure our friendship." Wow. To ensure that we still have a bond, to ensure that we're still brethren, to ensure our relationship. And Esau's response was, "My brother, I have plenty. Keep what you have for yourself." But of course, Jacob insisted, and Esau went ahead and accepted the gift. And Jacob said to Esau, this is what was so powerful as well. He said, "What a relief to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the face of God." Let me tell you, that is so monumental. Because here he is, he's concerned, he was scared. He did not know how his brother was going to receive him, if he was going to receive him at all. And when Esau showed brotherly love, when Esau reconciled with him, they wept, they hugged, they kissed, and he was so glad to see him. Jacob's response was, "Your smile, your friendly smile is like seeing the face of God." Can you imagine the burden that was rolled off his shoulder? Can you imagine the weight that he no longer had to carry? Can you imagine the prospect of them sharing good times together, of them sharing what has happened over the years with his family and his brother's family and things that they did, and probably taking notes as to, because they were twins. I'm sure they probably did similar things. But after 20 years, they came back together. And it got to a point where Esau said, well, I'm going to go ahead. Will you follow me? And he said, sure, I'll follow you. But, I have young children and I have young flocks that are still, and some of my flocks still are pregnant. We'll have to go slow. We won't be able to walk fast behind you. And so Esau said, okay, but at least let me assign my men to guide and protect you as you go. And Jacob said, that's not necessary. Wow, this is so great. He said, it's enough that you've received me warmly, my Lord. He called Esau his Lord, when in fact the blessing that Jacob received said that Esau would serve him. But in love and in forgiveness, we take the low road. We humble ourselves and we esteem the other. Here it is, Jacob esteeming Esau. He was the one that did the wrong. Yes, Jacob was the one that did the wrong. And Esau was well and within his rights to retaliate, was well within his rights to get back at this young man, his brother, his twin brother, who did him wrong. But we see here that the love that they have for each other, the need for family, the need for each other outweighed the hurt, outweighed the wound that took place. And I believe it's safe to assume also that Esau forgave Jacob before he even met him. Because remember the encouragement his father gave him. If you can release this deed that your brother have done to you, you will release the yoke from your neck and you will be able to walk free. So I want to challenge you. The challenge is this, is to reconcile. If reconciliation is needed, reconcile. Reconcile if reconciliation is needed. I'm going to share 10 steps quickly with you by Steve Cornell, who is a senior pastor at Millersville Bible Church in Pennsylvania. He says, be honest about your motives when you go to reconcile. Make sure your desire is to reconcile and not to get revenge. Number 2, be humble in your attitude. Don't let your pride ruin everything and renounce all vengeful attitudes toward your offender. You got to renounce it. All right? Number 3, be prayerful about the one who hurt you. Pray for them. Seek God on their behalf. God does call for us to forgive people who have hurt us. So pray for them. Number 4, be willing to admit that you may have contributed to the problem in some way. You may have done just that. We may have, given in to certain emotions. We may have been careless with our words or impatient, or we may have failed to respond in a loving manner. We may have contributed to what took place as well. So we have to remember to be willing to admit, where we have contributed to the situation. Be honest with the offender. That's one thing. Be objective about your hesitancy if there's some hesitancy about reconciling, because it does take time and people need time. Number 7, be clear about the guidelines for restoration. There may be some guidelines that you have to share with the person, some requirements that you have. Share it. Be honest about it. That's really important. Also, be alert to Satan's schemes. The enemy will want you to bring up the past and drudge things over. That's not necessary. It's about restoring. First, we have forgiveness, which is mandatory. Reconciliation is based upon the attitude of the person you are trying to reconcile with. It may not happen all the time, but when it's needful, do it. Number 9, be mindful of God's control. He is in control. All things work together for the good of those who are called according to God's purpose. So God will work this out with us. And number 10, be realistic about the process. We know that reconciliation takes time. Let's give people time to heal. and then meet up and then bring reconciliation. I pray you were blessed. May God keep and cover you and give you strength to make the right decision. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget, love does reconcile. God bless you.
Were you empowered and moved into action? We hope so. If we don't transform the world, who will? And if not now, when? See you next time. And remember to register for our upcoming Love Thrives Community Conference, June 22nd through 23rd. For more information, go to ilovenow.org. Thanks again for joining us. Bye for now.